Great piece, great piece, great piece. So I want to talk about home subtypes, settlements, early America. I want to talk about that real quick. Around 2010 sometime, I had a YouTube channel and I had like 8 videos on it, right? I wasn't very active on YouTube as far as participating in content creation. I basically was just on there learning different techniques, different sciences, different trades. But I still remember this time, right? A guy came on my channel and he was basically saying he was replying to a comment I made. And you know how YouTube used to be back then, right? Like, it was different as far as like how you reply to comments. You couldn't heart people. You know, I don't even think, well, you could like, but I don't think you could. It was a couple things you couldn't do. And I remember like you could message people on YouTube. I remember that. A lot of young people don't remember you could message people on YouTube. But I was on there and a guy came up and for some reason, I think he was from a suburb of Detroit, European guy, right? He basically was like, we built all those homes in Detroit. And the first thing I thought about was that, I live in a prairie cottage, right? A prairie cottage, a Puritan subtype. And I kept thinking like, my home is not colonial necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, it's basically a home that any man who had just left the military in 1930, he could build. Any man, right? Any man could build it, right? Because there's like a lot of, black men back then, they could build homes, Like one of my partners, well, I should say my elder, right? Les Ray, he and me, we used to go to a community in Beverly Hills, right? Pretty much all over the city of Chicago. And we would repair homes and build homes from scratch. And I was like no more than 14, 15, and I would get so much money because he would pay me, you know what I mean? He would pay me for helping him, because his nephew would see me in my mom's living room on a computer when he would come over and, basically check up on the house or, get that month's rent, right? And he told his uncle about me, and, his uncle, he would come over my mom's house and pick me up. And we would go all over the community and just like repair homes. But the thing that I noticed about, the homes is that, when you look at the material, like that's like basically on it, right? When you look at the material, right? You see stuff that's necessarily imported. Like some of the stuff on the homes, like they're imported. Like you go back to 1930 and you look in an electric box, you may see a printing on there from Japan or somewhere, you know what I mean? Like Japan. And and I'm thinking like if Japan were belligerent, or sterile parties, if you will, friendly parties, how is it that you get a subtype in a community that is basically from a black organization, right? Like you look at the history of America and you see black people, you see Japanese, you see a Vietnamese culture. You see a lot of different cultures that's alongside blacks. You see it. Because I'm thinking, like, if that was the case, like, they all built the homes, right? Why don't they all look the same, Like, because historically, right, you think of the Puritans, they were essentially a secret society of black men, who were keeping the black woman out of things, and they later on, right, they accepted them into the church, so when I think about early America settlements, I'm always looking at the counties, who's in the counties, demographics, I'm thinking about what type of, food grows around these houses. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the letters that's used in those counties. I'm looking at everything, right? The name of the material used on a home. I'm looking at the color of the home. You know what I mean? And I'm not downplaying, European colonization and their subtraction to it. I'm not downplaying that, right? I'm downplaying the fact that, when you see houses, that may be prairie style, Puritan subtypes, colonial, Victorian, I'm looking at all the years that black people were here in America. Where would they live and how would they live in? And what expertise did they have in upkeeping their own settlements? I'm not looking at who's doing the things now. I'm not looking at that at all. Because, like, since we've had this house, right, the contractors on it, it hasn't been Europeans. Like, it's been black men, right? Who's been knowing, like, okay, how to fix this, how to fix that. It's been black men, So, like, again, like, when I come and make my videos, I try to get people to think. I try to get people to think. I try not to, style any type of traumatic experience. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm not a traumatic person, I like to get people to think. I like to share information with people. I like to stoke fires. I like to franchise. That's what I like to do. I like to franchise. And then when I look at the framing on my house, right, I look at the framing of it. To me, like, it doesn't give European influence. You know what I mean? It doesn't give it, But you can see after it was built, when hauling was done to it, right? When hauling was done to it, you can see here and there different companies came and added appliances to it, right? You got network boxes, like they've added things to it. You know what I mean? But I think about like when you're building a house, it's very easy. The only thing you have to worry about is county laws. That's the only thing you got to worry about. Because when you finally get land and you start building on it, the city is going to, and we saw this in Detroit just the other day, right? A guy, he tried to build his home. I think it was, you know, I don't know if it was near Jefferson. Like it was somewhere in Detroit, but he tried to build his home and the city came and delivered him an occupancy order, like he had to leave. And he got this home from the Detroit Land Bank, and he was building on it like progressively, right? And he did a phenomenal job, and they just came through and they tried to take it. But, you know, some people who were in the organization of the city of Detroit, you know, they came out and supporting him, even the police chief. I think his name is, what is his name? Like, obviously, like, I know his face, but, like, I think his name is Beatty or Betty, his last name. But, like, he came through and, you know, he supported him. He, like, you know, we're going to help you keep your home, you know. But I look at to me, like, it doesn't matter, right? The Detroit Land Bank, like, because I have land that I got from them. If they come and take my land, like, it doesn't really matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter to me. The only thing I can do is control it within my power of what would prevent them from taking my land. That's keeping it clean. Because you get a 3-year order to, like, keep it up to par. And if you don't, they take it. I don't know if they give your money back. I don't know. But to me, it's not important. Because they can't take those deeds back, you know, that they emailed you. They can't take those back. So I don't think it really matters. Like the idea that you even have a deed that has your name on it that says you own a parcel of land, even if it is defective after a while, like I think the thing you have to take is that's an accomplishment, you know? That's an accomplishment. You look throughout all the years of black people being on this soil, not coming from anywhere except going back and forth, you know, from Africa to Asia to America in little parts, in little convoys, right? You know, it's people who go to Africa by like tens and thousands and they never come back. And it's people who come to America who've been from America who stay, you know, like it's women in Jamaica who farm. I mean, it's women from Jamaica who farm in Georgia. You know what I mean? Like accent and everything. And they assimilate into the culture very well. You know, this is why I think American history is Caribbean history. There's no way getting around it. Because if you born here after a generation, right, your accent changed. That's the only thing that happens. And you assimilate into African American culture. But when I look at all the early American demographics, right, the large part of African Americans is on the East Coast. That's where all the development is. It's not on the West Coast. So when you look at home style influences, when you look at architectural influences, it's black culture. It's no way. It doesn't matter who built the house. It's black culture influence. Period. You know, they try to make it seem like we were living in Hogan's. You know, like cabins all out. Like, you know, like how do you manage our population living in small homes and attempting to get other men to build it? No, we built those homes. We accomplished as much as we did. We were able to get to where we got. We struggled. That U.S. banner, our blood, sweat, and tears is on it. There's no changing that. There's no changing it. Great piece.